Lesson 2.4, Proportional Relationship Equations. I can write equations for proportional relationships and graph them. Proportional relationships. An equation is a proportional relationship if its graph is a straight line that goes to the origin, 0, 0. Table has the same ratio of y over x for every ordered pair except for when x equals 0. Equation has the form y equals rx, where r is the constant proportionality or unit rate. Example 1, find the constant proportionality for each graph. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to pick one of the points from my graph. It doesn't matter which one I pick, but let's say, for example, I pick this point. In this case, I took the points 4, 8. And remember that when we write our points, our first number is our x value. So I'm going to label that x right above it. And my second number is always my y value. But remember, when we're solving for constant proportionality, we write it y over x to find our unit rate, our constant proportionality. So in this case, I'm going to take the value 8 because that's the y value. That is my numerator. And then I'm going to take the x value, which is 4. That becomes my denominator. And then I'm going to go 8 divided by 4 and simplify that. And I would get 2. So my constant proportionality is 2. You try. Find the constant proportionality for the graph. You try. Find the constant proportionality for the graph. Proportional relationship equation, y equals rx, where r is the constant proportionality or the unit rate, which is the y over x value. A proportional relationship is modeled by the equation y equals 3x. Complete the table for the given x values. So what we can do is we can take these values, our x values, plug them into the equation, and basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be multiplying that by 3, and we'll get our output or our y value. So we instantly know if I go 3 times 0, I'm going to get 0. If I go 3 times 1, so remember we're going to be timesing it by 3, I would get 3. If I go 3 times 2, I'm going to get 6. If I go 3 times 3, I would get 9. And if I go 3 times 4, I get 12. A proportional relationship is modeled by the equation y equals 3x. So we have our table created from our previous part of the problem, and it wants us to graph the ordered pairs in the table and connect the ordered pairs with a line. So we can graph the x, y pairs and connect the line. So we can see that this has been already completed for us here. We have 0, 0, or the origin. Then I'm going to go where x is 1 and y is 3, and I put a dot right there. I'm going to go to where x is 2, y is 6. I'm going to put a dot right there. I'm going to go where x is 3, y is 9. I put a dot right there. And we'll go to where x is 4 and y is 12, and I put a dot right there. And then I connect the dots. It is a straight line through the origin, which makes it a proportional relationship. A proportional relationship is modeled by the equation y equals 3x. So the last part of this problem, what's the constant proportionality of the equation? So in this case, we're looking in the equation, what is the value that we're multiplying x by every single time? And we can see that that number is 3 from my equation. So what's the constant proportionality? The answer is 3. A proportional relationship is modeled by the equation y equals 1/4 x. So in this case, I'm going to check to see what 1/4 is a decimal. And to do that, I would go 1 divided by 4, and I'd get 0.25. And so that would be our unit rate here. So I'm going to multiply 0 times 0.25, and I'm going to get my output. And I'm going to check that with all of them. So then I'm going to go 4 times 0.25 and get my output. So I'd like you to try to fill in the output values for this by multiplying my input values by 0.25 using a calculator. Graph the ordered pairs in the table and connect the ordered pairs with a line. So this has been done for us. So we should have had 0, 0. We should have had x is 4, y is 1, x is 8, y is 2, x is 12, y is 3, x is 16, y is 4. And then we've connected the dots to form a straight line. What is the constant of proportionality? Using the equation y equals 1/4 x, what is the constant of proportionality? The table at the right shows ordered pairs which form a proportional relationship. Write an equation relating the x and y coordinates in the form of y equals rx. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my table, and I'm going to find the numbers that do not include decimals. And so I'm going to pick these 2 points right here, or this point right here, the x, y, when x equals 4, y equals 1. And don't forget, it's y over x. And in this table, that can look a little confusing, because if we notice here, our x values are on top and our y values are on the bottom. So I have to be very careful to make sure that I put the correct numbers in the correct places here. So I'm going to write this as y is 1, and my x value is 4. So my unit rate is 1/4. So then to write that as an equation, I write that as y equals 1/4, because that is my unit rate, x. And this would be my answer. You try. The table below shows ordered pairs which form a proportional relationship. Write an equation relating the x and y coordinates in the form of y equals rx. Make sure that as you're doing this, to remember that the y value is my numerator and my x value needs to be my denominator. And I would recommend by picking these two numbers from my data set. Example 4. The graph at the right shows a proportional relationship between x and y. Write an equation in the form of y equals rx. So I can see that they've already put a dot here. And if I'm looking at that, my x value is 5. So if I was to actually write this out, I'd put 5 as an ordered pair. And then I see that my y value is 8. And I'll put it in parentheses here. And so then I'm going to write that, don't forget, it's y value over my x value. And I notice that my x is 5, my y value is 8, so I'm going to write that as 8 as my y, and my x is 5. And so that is my constant proportionality, or my unit rate. And so I'd write that as y equals, and I'm going to leave it as an improper fraction 8 over 5x. And that would be my answer for that problem. You try. The graph shows a proportional relationship between x and y. Write an equation for the graph in the form of y equals rx. Now you can pick any point. You can pick either of these points for sure. I would recommend picking this point if it was me, and I'm going to write that as my x is 2 and my y value is 8. And then do not forget that it's your y over your x to figure out your unit rate. And then whatever this equals, whatever my unit rate is, needs to be written in the form of y equals whatever that rate is times x. So please finish by solving this problem.